So I don't know. Sorry, I just my PDF just tried to boot me off so they can update it. Anyway, so it's not about it's not just about getting food, but it's also about getting healthy food, culturally appropriate food. It's about having dignity for workers. It's about having supporting workers' rights and things like that. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do with a lot of this is we're trying to bring food sovereignty um, to a lot of the communities that yeah, sorry. So and what that looks like, that can look like a lot of different things. So our version of what that looks like, at least one thing we're trying to do is we are trying to build what we call local food economies. To give you a little example of what we're trying to do, this is one example of a local food economy. These are all the different steps that we're trying to build, from growing food, but it's not just about growing food. Also, it's about when we need commercial kitchens, to process it, to make it into value added, to build food jobs, to build have actual complete meals. We need community kitchens. We need markets, farmers markets, co-ops, things like that. We need resource recommendation, from like getting that food and donating it, or at least composting it and getting it back into the soil to keep our farms going. And even we need like lots of training. So this is essentially, I'm just going to go through a couple of these slides real quick about what we do at all different levels of this. So the first part we're talking about is community training. A big thing that we do is we do a lot of workshops. It's real fun. We have a lot of great teachers out there. So when COVID hit, actually, we were in the middle of a course, and I went out and bought a Zoom account, and figured it out, and then we end up recording 60 some classes last year during the pandemic, and we put them all up online where people can watch them anytime. We keep them at the Doug Network. Which I'll talk a little bit more about on the next slide, but it's dougnetwork.org, and you can see all of these workshops for free, from just basics, like how do I start growing, to like I want to grow mushrooms, I want to start composting, I want to have bees and things like that. So definitely check that out. Including we have a lot of food justice classes as well, from local what are the issues happening locally and how do we get involved to also international and national issues, from all over, the world. So definitely check out those workshops. They're all, like I said, they're all recorded and free. And then, so we do a lot of courses as well. We had to cut back on some because like 80% of our budget was cut during COVID, but we hire a lot of people to do herbalism classes and agribusiness classes and things like that, and cooking and nutrition classes. On top of that too, DC's got so many amazing resources and grants and programs. But I would think most people in DC have no idea what's going on. It's just, we don't do a great job getting the word out, and a lot of people are working into islands. So that's why we created, well, I worked with several groups to create several different, what we call volunteer cooperatives, resource websites, to try to help bring, people, become aware of what's happening. Like the biggest one we do is the Doug Network, DC Urban Garden Network.org. It's the website's got, it needs to be updated, but yeah. So if you see some gardens on that map that are missing, send that to me for sure, and I'll update. But it's got like over 500 different organizations working in urban ag and food security and environmental organizations in the DC area, along with like where do I get my compost, where buying tools, all that stuff. On top of that, we do a really long, ugly, but very informative newsletter every 2 weeks, called the Doug Network newsletter, where we have dozens of jobs and programs and workshops and all different kinds of things happening. And we have over 11,000 people. So if you need help promoting things for free, send it to us. But also sign up. If you go to dougnetwork.org, you can sign up for that. But also we started realizing, like especially we're talking about food justice. So there's just kind of two perspectives with food justice. I'm glad you mentioned the food desert perspective. So it was just one approach that kind of, identifies, well, we have, these communities that need food. Let's just get them some food, and then, problem solved. And that's how the USDA has been, and a lot of organizations have been working for the last couple of decades. And there's this new movement that's been happening lately. It's called food apartheid. It's a new framework looking at food insecurities, and they're not just looking at, well, this community doesn't have food, let's get them food. And they're like, well, no, why doesn't this community have food? What are the historical, events that's happened? What is still happening right now? What needs to be fixed? And so we're looking at, bigger systems like capitalism and patriarchy and white supremacy and colonialism and all this stuff that our country was kind of founded on, and then also we're still dealing with it, in many ways. So it's about kind of dissecting that, and how do we get involved in dismantling these systems, so these communities can actually produce their own food, that they don't have to rely on food assistance. So that's like that's why we created People School of DC. Is a social justice a resource website, where if because food justice is not just about food, it's also about immigration justice, it's about housing justice, it's about homelessness justice. So we need as many people as possible to get involved in all these aspects, fighting for affordable housing, fighting for immigration rights, fighting for all these things. So if you go to People School, that's peoplesschooldc.org, you can find all the different organizations that are working on different things. You don't have to solve it yourself. You can just kind of find ways to help these organizations that have been working on these issues for decades. So definitely check out that website. And we got other one like Humane DC, if you want to find more non-factory farms, grass-fed, things like that, responsible consumerism, things like that, which definitely check out. So then the next part what we do is production. So we do a lot of different ways that we grow. We have over 35 community gardens where people can get individual plots and grow. We organize them into these cooperatives. And then a new thing that we started just because the pandemic hit, and we opened up the Edgewood rooftop farm the same month that COVID hit. We had all these plans for like making it a teaching garden, and that fell through. But then I had all these seedlings that were grown in greenhouses for programs that got canceled. So we decided just to start growing as much food as possible, and then just giving it out on weekly veggie giveaways. And that kind of produced this new program called Communal Farms, where anyone can come and they can volunteer with us. They can get hands-on experience, learning and helping how to farm. And then once a week, we have veggie giveaways where we harvest a bunch of food and give it out to people in the community that are food insecure. So that's a really great program. We've actually expanded to another site. The first one, Edgewood Rooftop Farms in Ward 5. And then we revamped a 50-year-old 1 acre farm, Letter Gardens in Ward 7, that was really struggling, lots of flooding issues and stuff. And we fixed it up, and now that's our second communal farm, and we're working on a third communal farm for next year. So I really like this model because it's like it's kind of recreating the commons, where people feel ownership over it, and we're all working together instead of this like, this is my plot, this is your plot kind of thing. And we actually produced. Last year we produced over 1,500 pounds in a small little rooftop farm, and we're looking to do way more this year. So definitely check that out. Then our partner urban farms. So that's when we work with some amazing organizations like Taboris and DMV Urban Greens and DC Urban Greens, and Dreaming Out Loud, City Blossoms, Common Good City Farm, where we try to find these great organizations that have good experience working in communities and community organizing and understand social justice and things. And we match them up with land, and sometimes if we have some money, we'll build part of their farm for them. And that's really great because these are really great organizations. Like if you heard about the Kelly Miller Farm that's being operated by Dreaming Out Loud and City Blossoms and a couple other organizations. This one's a new one it's going to be a 3-acre farm in Oxen Run. It's called The Well. It's DC Greens and green schemes are working. We try to do partnerships. You get more accountability. Everyone, you kind of Yeah, it works out a lot better. We have less less bad actors when we have multiple partners on board. This is where Taboris, Fort Dupont on the ice arena, where he grows, and then he also grows in Fort Stanton as well. We have a whole lot of awesome organizations and awesome people that we're just trying to. We have tons of land, but we don't have the capacity to grow, so we try to find. We're very intentional. We don't just give it out to anyone. We try to find really great organizations and people, and then we match them up with land and try to support them to build, more urban farms. And then we work on a lot of innovations, like our Fort Stanton farm. We couldn't get water there, so we actually, dug DC's first solar well, a water well that's actually supplying that farm right now. Edgewood, is, like I said, is a rooftop farm. So DC is like #1 in green roofs, and green roofs are kind of oversold. They're not that great. Green roofs are like 2 or 3 inches of lightweight media with like desert plants, and then eventually you have to hire expensive contractors, or they just become these invasive seed banks, and it's kind of messy. So what I'm trying to propose is, instead of doing these green roofs, which we do because we have a combined stormwater system that when it rains too much, our sewage goes in the river. So we try to capture this water in rain gardens and bioretentions and green roofs. But what I'm proposing is, instead of 2 or 3 inches, let's make it 1 foot, add compost, and let's turn it into a farm. And then we don't need expensive contractors, because the community can run it. We don't have to fight for space, because right now, every time we do a community, a new rec center, or something, it's a battle, because there's a limited amount of space, and people want basketball courts and fields and playgrounds and urban ag. I love urban ag, but it doesn't really compete against those things. So, but if we can, instead of doing these green roofs, they're just kind of, in my opinion, a waste of time and money. We could start doing these rooftop farms. We can actually feed people, and we're collecting way more stormwater with tomato plants. Pull up way more stormwater than sedums. But anyway, that's my opinion. But I'm going to start pushing and advocating to do more rooftop farms. We have a lot of great programs like Shared Roots, where we had to close this with COVID, but I'm hoping to bring it back soon, where we partner with OSSE, the Office State of Superintendent of Education, where they oversee all the school gardens. And most of the school gardens, schools are closed in the summer, so they just like sit there and kind of rot. So we're trying to match people with these gardens, and then they can grow, and they can harvest what they grow, and then they hand off this functional garden to the school when it starts back in August. Really great, and especially because it's hard. Some of our gardens have like 5-10 year waiting lists, so this is a great program if you're stuck on a waiting list. We do a lot of like tool shares and greenhouse cooperatives. If you need tools, or need places, if you're a nonprofit or school, need places to grow seedlings. Doing more beekeeping programs. We have a bunch of different sites, and we just started at our communal farms. We're actually doing communal beehives. This is our first communal beehive from Edgewood Rooftop Farm, and we harvested it this fall and gave away over 200 bottles to the community of honey. And if you got allergies, man, the best thing is that local raw honey is so good for you. So Adopt a Rain Garden program is COVID kind of kicked it in the butt. But if anyone has a rain garden and they're tired of looking at it, all weeds, let me know, and we can help you adopt it. And then we have like processing. So this is something, it's kind of going back and forth, but we're building a new rec center in Congress Heights, and we're trying to build, community kitchens, commercial kitchens, where we can use as incubator spaces for local food businesses to start up. And we're also trying to provide food co-op spaces, because it's food co-ops are amazing, but they can't compete against the capitalist market, especially in DC. So we're trying to give them, we're looking at this as common sources where people can, we have a rec center, we have 60 some rec centers. We could totally start housing grocery stores and nonprofit co-op grocery stores in the rec centers. So I'm trying to build the first one at Congress Heights. We're struggling. It's kind of going back and forth. And we've been in 2 years in the design phase, but we're going to keep on pushing. Hopefully we'll get that. If not, we're going to find another rec center to do it at. Then we're working with another option. We're working with Fresh Food Factory in the site in Ward 7 to try to build a retrofitted shipping container food co-op. So even if we don't have space in the rec center, we can even plop a shipping container, a 40-foot shipping container, and retrofit it into so we're working on doing that. We were hoping to do that It's in the works. It's a lot of red tape we got to go through, but we're hoping to have that, by early next year at one of our garden farms. And then we have lots of farmers markets and CSAs and giveaways and things like that. Then we do a lot of community, a lot of like compost co-op. We organize these rat-proof and smell-proof compost bins, put them all over the city, and organize them into these self-sustaining co-ops. So you can actually compost your food scraps and keep it local, and then even take some of the compost home. We were right in the middle of doing this awesome data tracking app, and COVID hit and shrunk my budget. So hopefully I'll get my budget back soon and I'll finish this app. But that was a really cool app that can actually record how much you're composting. We got competitions, who's the best composter, which site's the best composter, and things. And yeah, and another thing that we're doing is food recovery working group. So we started this a little while ago, a bunch of different organizations to kind of work on food recovery, because like an enormous amount of food is wasted every year. About like a third, I think, something around there, depending on of all the food grown ends up back in the dump, and which is crazy if you look at our food insecurity. So we actually a bunch of us get together once a month, and we work on we pass the legislation to overcome a lot of food recovery barriers in DC, and we work on a lot. But one thing that we're doing that's coming up real soon, I think it's next week, is we do every year we do food recovery Food Recovery Week, where we highlight all, we have a whole list of different workshops and events and cooking classes where we're talking about all the different food recovery happening. So if you want to check that out, go to dcfoodrecovery.org, and there's a lot of cool events coming up. I wish I should have put a flyer on that up there, but definitely check that out. Yeah, that's basically it. That's the first gentleman that's visiting the Kelly Miller farm. It took me a while. This is when he was first elected, and I was like, "What's the first gentleman?" But he came to visit Kelly Miller and Dreaming Out Loud folks. They're doing really great work over in Ward 7, and yeah, that's about all I got. Sorry if that took too long. See, one question. Thank you. Okay, yeah. One question says, do you work with condo developments with land to grow food on their properties? We'll work anywhere, for sure. I mean, we just want to be careful with a lot of the developments that we're not like some of these developments are not good developments. And a lot of times they use, urban ag as a way to kind of increase the property value. And then they develop things that current residents can't afford. So I always get the same spiel with developments. Like, I will totally work with you as long as you're not developing anything that's going to price out the current residents. Usually I don't get a lot of responses when I say that, but I'm happy to. I just don't want to, I want to be very intentional about that and not actually, increase, because DC's got a lot of bad developments and a lot of the bad developers, and a lot of bad shady stuff happens in the zoning commission. So I think we need to be really careful about all that stuff.
Okay.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
All right, great. Thank you, Josh. It's wonderful, overwhelming. We'll have a chance to return to it when the recording of this presentation will be online with Capitol Hill Village, and perhaps we'll pass the word beyond. And I think you answered one of the questions. So Tabaris, if you are ready.
And Josh, if you could stop sharing your screen, because then I think I'm going to be sharing soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. And fantastic.
Okay. And if you could unmute yourself when you have the chance, to Boris.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now.
We have you.
Hey,
okay.
Hello.
Great. Yes.
Hello, Tabaris Robinson. I'm with DMV Urban Greens and DC Urban Greens. I manage most of their properties, and I have an urban farm behind Fort DuPont Ice Arena, and I also manage the farm for the Nats Youth Baseball Academy, which is across the street from the skating rink.
Would you like us to show your video where you are striding through your gardens?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a yes? Okay. We'll switch to that if it's okay with you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
we're working on it. High-tech stuff here. There he is.
Just need one moment.
Right. And I'm interested, while Samantha is working on it, DMV, the urban greens have farms beyond District of Columbia?
No.
No, okay.
No. Everything
Why
is
DMV?
well, that's a whole story.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Actually, I used to work for DMV. I used to work for DC Urban Greens.
Right.
And DC Urban Greens wanted to step back and try to do something different. So they allowed me to become my own entity, but I had to make my own name. I couldn't use DC Urban Greens, so I became DMV Urban Greens.
Okay. Well,
and,
that is a good excuse to extend your reach, yes?
Yeah, and pretty much I do most of whatever I do in Ward 7 and 8, but I also do things like build little raised beds and stuff for people if they want, like if you want to garden at your house, I'll come out and do it for you like that. And I will do that wherever I have to go with that. I mean, I'm not just going to stick to one spot with that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, well, actually, with your permission, we'll include the link about that when we have the recording available. But if it's okay with you now, we'll go to the little video where you are in your domain of urban farming.
And I'm gonna hit play. If someone can just shout out and let me know you hear it, that would be great.
Okay.
DC Urban
Got
Green,
it.
Good.
Since 2013, we try to grow fresh food into the community for a low cost or pretty much free. I started off just helping build these hoop houses. Now I'm somewhat the owner. I never thought of being a farmer, but here I am. Like I tell my employees, we do the same thing every day. We grow vegetables and we weed vegetables. Right now, we're in the middle of changing over and getting our fall crop in. We pride ourselves on trying to get healthy food into the community and teach the community about healthy eating and not so much of ice cream trucks and corner stores, which that's mostly what we have around here. We hire locally. We host summer jobs. We have some people from the community that come up and volunteer with us. We have some that just stop through and be like, hey, what y'all got today? Since the pandemic, once a week, we've been giving out 60 to 100 bags of vegetables and fruit. We try to grow it organic, and we take it right to the curb so they can get it. We have 2 grocery stores, 2 Safeways, which serves over 100 and something thousand people. We got one down the street that serves like 80,000 people, more than likely in urban neighborhoods and food deserts. The grocery store is so far away, and when you go in a grocery store, you on a budget, so you buy to your budget. It's very important to try to educate the community on healthy eating, because a couple pennies more can, help you save your life and your health. So we try to have workshops and things like that to try to teach the community people so they could go back and teach their friends and others, to try to help out in the community and put something healthy into the community. I always say the cure for anything is in the vegetables.
All right. That was a nice video.
It is a great video and touches on so many important points. So tell us more.
Y'all have any questions?
Too many. I'm overwhelmed.
I do. Okay. And Judy does too. I'm really interested in your distribution and where your truck was in the video. And do you have different sites that you go to give away food?
Yes, I try to rotate in between Ward 7 and 8. I bounce back and forth each week. I normally do like clinics in Ward 7 and 8, or just crowded areas where I know the people volume is high, I just pull over right there and be like, we're gonna give it out right here today. But when the winter came, it got too cold to stand out there, and I wasn't trying to get nobody sick. So what I would do is I had other organizations that I partner with that gives away food, but they don't have fresh vegetables. They give away perishables and stuff like that. Right. So I would give the vegetables to them so they can have it to put with the stuff they give out. Like the community center around here in 37th, Child of Mine over, I think Child of Mine is Ward 8. Yeah, they give out a lot of food over there, so I give it to them. I drop to them today. The Nats Youth Baseball Academy, they got a senior program. So I kind of put some of the stuff with what I grow with that to that. I kind of try to spread it out what I can. It's not much, but it's working.
Every bit helps, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, is this a DC funded? You get funds from the DC government?
No, I do not.
Why not?
I have no answer for that. It's not like I don't try.
This sounds like something that could be more heavily supported.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I get looked over a lot because I'm small and not really known. So I get looked over. They go to the bigger organizations and they give them the money thinking it's going to trickle down. I get lucky and I might get a grant or two, like $10,000 grant. And I try to make that work with the little money that I do make off of the vegetables. I don't make no money doing this. I'm just in it because I'm enjoying it.
How many people do you have helping you?
I got 1, 2. I have 3 employees and a loyal volunteer that's just keep coming back.
Well, it sounds fabulous what you're doing, and I hope it can grow. Figure a way to grow it. Get more help.
Yeah, and actually, some of my backing comes from DC Urban Greens.
Oh, good.
DC Urban Greens is still around because they backs me on some things, and if they get any farming work, they contract it to me. So that helps out too.
And the farms are on the District of Columbia land, being on the land of the Parks and Recreation. So in some small way, the district is supporting that farm, maybe not enough. How much are neighbors in your community involved in the gardening? I know you have some employees, which is necessary, but also presumably some volunteers. And do people who get the food say, "Oh, cool, we can, help grow it"? Is that sort of interaction evolving?
Yes, I'm not going to say no, but it's very little. Most people just come get the vegetables and they're gone. Oh, you grew this out back? Oh, ooh, okay, yeah, I'll come check it out sometime. Never see them again until I'm out there passing out the food. I do have a couple people, if they see people up there helping out or working, they will come out and pitch in and volunteer. But no, I don't get as many as you think I would. Let me just say that.
I find it a little surprising. I also found it a little surprising. I read the article, which was in Washington City paper in 2019, and at that time about your family, the dirt people, dirt under nails people, yeah. But at that point, you felt that there wasn't as much interest in the, even in the produce, if I understand correctly. I hope that's changing as they say, "Oh my God, that's a great stuff I'm getting here."
With that actually was a interview for some newspaper or something. I forgot what it was. Maybe the city paper. I don't know. But when the guy got here, And he seen me call my mother because my mom was like the first employee with DC Urban Greens. That's how I got into it, by hanging out with her and just coming to volunteer. Then we built the hoop houses and stuff. And it just so happened, my son was on, he was doing his summer job with us. And then he was out there. He come out and help every now and again, you know. So, but yeah, he was out there helping us. And when dude saw that, he was like, "Oh, this is a story right here." And I was like, "What?" Yeah, like, okay, go with it. But yeah, my mom actually was the first employee with DC Urban Greens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Great. Yeah.
And we have a couple of questions in the chat. Someone's wondering how they can donate to you, and also if you're recruiting volunteers.
You can always email me. Email me. Yeah, email me. Yeah, just email me.
We'll get the contact information out. Yes. Yeah. And
I can put your email in the chat if you don't mind telling it to me again.
Tabaris Robinson, _TR@gmail.com.
TabarisRobinson.gr.
Tabaris Robinson, _TR@gmail.
Got it. All right, that's in the chat for everyone.
Right. Yeah. Well, we certainly, I don't know how many of my neighbors would go, would have to drive to get to your farms, I guess, to help out. But we'd love to certainly help and advocate for it. And yeah, so.
And from 8 to 12, I can guarantee you I'm here.
Okay, right, yes. I've been catching you at lunchtime. Yeah.
Yep.
More questions for either Tabaris or Josh?
I saw Susan's raising her hands.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm on. I'm interested in knowing where you get your seeds or your plants and your tools and all the things that you need to have to farm.
Well,
where do you get those things from?
I actually, I buy my seeds from Johnny Select Seeds, organic seeds. And I grow my own seedlings. I make my own soil, do my own seedlings and grow them and plant them. Very seldom I go out and buy some seedlings. Sometimes I get lucky. Josh might have some. I don't know. I mean, different places.
Right. Well, certainly harvesting one's own seeds works for some things. Beans for me, arugula for me, other things not so much. I'm sure you find what works for you and then go to the store for the rest.
I mean, pretty much I try to plant everything I can in the season that will be allowed. You know, like only thing I never actually grew is cauliflower. That's because the bugs eat it up before it even grows. And then I got a groundhog over here that's beating me up bad.
Do we have any more questions?
Asking for a reminder about where you're located, and I think it might have gotten worked out in the chat, but if you could say that again.
Yeah, Fort DuPont.
Yeah, Fort DuPont Ice Arena. I'm right in the back of Fort DuPont Ice Arena. And my other farm is across the parking lot, like you can see behind me, the Nets Youth Baseball Academy.
When we record, maybe I'll mark up our maps with more detail of such things, and that will be available to people. And I keep repeating myself, but I think maybe we'll organize a tour of your farms, maybe come spring. There have been people interested in visiting farms. I did once visit University of District of Columbia rooftop farm. This would be at least equally interesting. And your container system, I think we'll want to learn more about as well. So.
Yeah, I want to check that out.
Right. Yeah. Josh, anything you'd like to add or share or comment on Taboris's efforts? Any more about how we can support your efforts? Certainly advocacy with our government agencies, but anything else?
Like definitely when new buildings are being built, like new government buildings, we need as many people as possible to go to these community meetings and push for urban ag features or community kitchens or food co-op spaces and things like that. So that's a big one, because some of these sites, like Congress Heights, has a $20 million budget. It would be no big deal for them to do like a big commercial kitchen or a rooftop farm. But we need people to show up, to these meetings and express it, because we try to, a lot of these meetings, they can take, a good year or two of just like outreach, trying to gauge what the community wants. And a lot of times it's not Survivor. They put different things on and people vote and have stickers and stuff. And we need to have a strong following to get these things built. I think that's about it. Yeah, we also had a woodchuck problem, Boris. We just caught it. We have some have-a-heart cages in our tool share, and they love cantaloupe. So we caught one, and so if you need to borrow the cage, let me know.
Nah, hey, I got 3 of them cages, man. I caught 11 and a possum this year. They still eating.
Okay. I mean, you're right up on that national park land. Yeah. So.
I can't do nothing with them. I catch them and take them somewhere else, but I feel like they're coming back. Like I can't get them away, man.
Yeah. So is it catch and release program, or hey, let's get those possum in our soup pot? I don't know, stewed possum. I know about a rabbit.
I never had stewed possum.
I don't know. It probably would be like rabbit. So yeah.
Some of those groundhogs. Yeah, some of those groundhogs have been living large. I mean, they're pretty plump. I'm sure they probably taste pretty good. Yeah.
They're amazing. In our community garden on Capitol Hill and the co-op, the compost co-op that, thanks to Josh, we have, there are several rats, small ones, that are managing to get into things, but we haven't. I think we've seen one woodchuck that lives in the neighborhood as well. So urban creatures, interesting, yes, but not necessarily helping with the food insecurities, at least not the way we deal with it these days.
They say they hungry too. Oh, man.
And I know people eat squirrels.
And I see Janet was just raising her hand. If you want to jump in, Janet.
Right.
Oh, man. Squirrels ain't the problem. They cool.
We've heard about all these wonderful things that are going on, which most of which is new to me. It's really exciting to hear about it. And yet we still hear that hunger is a problem and that there are people who are not getting enough to eat. So I'm wondering what would it take to eliminate hunger? What would it take to be sure that everybody has enough to eat?
That's a good question. And I really think it's going to be a ongoing battle for a while. I don't think this is an issue that we can just come up with something and get to the bottom of it, because it's a combination of a lot of different things. And it got a lot to do with education too, because you can't force feed somebody. People got to want it, and that's the hardest part right there. But I think it's an ongoing thing. And all I could think of for me, myself, to do is just try to do my part to support the best way I can, because it's a big thing. I mean, it's really serious. And a lot of times I go in the store and I'm looking at the produce in the neighborhoods and these Safeways in Ward 7 and 8. And then I go somewhere like Wegmans or Whole Foods and see them vegetables and be like, wow, like big difference, you know, in the quality of the food, you know? So, I mean, it's a lot to be done on this subject. It's a lot to be done.
And it is to do it on many fronts. We need for people to have good jobs that pay decent wage so they can afford the roof over their heads and the Safeway, you know, cart worth of food. We need to help them understand that this cheap salt, sugar, fat stuff is not good for them. But if that's the only thing that they can get, then something is wrong with us as a society, which is creating such a disparities. Why aren't there more supermarkets moving in towards 7 and 8? Somehow they think, well, it's not good for our business because people don't have much money. It's a terrific article that I think I mentioned that we'll post on all those issues. It really starts tying, you know, things together to some degree. So I think we need to advocate for good education, good jobs, good transportation, and grow food. That's still, you know, today it is helping.
That's the main object for now.
Yeah.
And we have another question here, wondering if either you, Tabaris, or Josh are making regular donations to homeless populations.
Oh, let me tell you about that. See, that's what I mean about the education about things, and people just need to understand and want to eat the fresh vegetables, because like I say, a lot of times I just pick random spots, and I pick high volume spots to where it's a lot of homeless people, and, you know, people just, you know, down on their luck or whatever. And I try to pull up and get them the bags, you know, and a lot of them don't even want it. I need something I can eat right now. Like, dude, you can eat everything in this bag right now. Like, everything in this bag you can eat right now. I mean, it's greens in here. You ain't got to cook them. You can eat them raw if it's that serious. Like, it's curries in his bag, it's apples in his bag, it's oranges in his bag. You know what I mean? Like, you can eat this stuff right now. Like, you talking about, you know, you hungry, give you some money for some food, but I'm handing you a bag of food and you don't even want it. So it's like I said, it goes down the educational thing and the bad habit of the people in those areas, because that's just how they brung up. You know, it's not that they act in some type of way. They just don't know, and people used to what they used to and afraid to change. Right. So they just gonna act the way they act towards things that they don't understand. I mean, you can't, I mean, some people just like that. You ever tried to give a bum some money and he tell you, no, I'm all right? He won't let you give him nothing. I mean, people just stuck in their ways and their thoughts, you know, and sometimes, you know, you in your head too much, you can get in your own way. So, I mean, all I can do is try. I got it here for you, you know?
Related to that question, Josh mentioned the food recovery program. And I am aware of somebody who is in whatever organization going to both restaurants and I think schools and cafeterias and actually recovering, in this case, cooked food, but also there are people going to supermarkets and recovering the food, and that food, I believe, goes to soup kitchens, the DC Central Kitchen, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think that program exists in a district, or maybe programs, because often there are more than one program. But how well it's working, I don't know. But it certainly helps with Mayor Bowser's, you know, zero waste program as well. make good use of that food rather than toss it and
right.
pay for getting it to the dump. So Josh, any more about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I just posted a link to the DMV Food Recovery Week. Definitely check that out. That starts October 4th, so here real soon.
Okay, we should look it up then.
Yeah. So that's definitely so that's put on by the DC Food Recovery Group working group, and also Mana Food Bank and Food Rescue and their food rescue programs. And so a lot of that is like we're trying to connect most of the people working on food recovery in the general area. So if you go to these events, you're going to hear about a lot of different things that are happening. I'm doing one class on Friday. Friday was the 8th. It's a noon to 1 class, and it's an overview of all the food recovery options and resources and organizations in DC. So if you're not familiar with how can I get involved, how can I help collect food, all these things, because I mean we waste an enormous amount of food at the same time, and that goes back to how do we cure homelessness. It's not always like or how we cure hunger. It's not always a supply issue. We grow way more food. I mean, the world grows 5 times as much food in the population. It's just, we still have 25,000 people in the world a day die from hunger because it's not a supply issue. It's a
mismatch of where the need and the supply are, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, it is, but also it's also systemic issues and systemic oppressions and all these things that are happening, and the direct results of this happening for the last 400 years, and without reparations or things like that, all the harm that's been caused, and we're just like, oh well, we're moving on. I mean, we need to fix these harms. We didn't need to dismantle these systems. We need to, food hunger is so much bigger than we need more food. It's about housing, it's about immigration, it's about repairing past harm. So the food recovery is just one of many ways that we can kind of approach those things. I mean, if we don't heal past harm, if we don't do things like reparations, do things that actually try to fix past harms, instead of just being like, oh, okay, we're not going to do it again, let's all move forward with our enormous wealth inequalities. We need we need to dismantle some of these oppressive systems that we've been living with. We need reparations, and we also need to figure out how to make the best out of the systems that we're working with, such as food recovery and things like that.
Did I see your hands up, Deb? I thought I might have seen Deb raising her hand, but I might have been wrong.
It's Mike. I couldn't hear.
All right. Well,
I was wondering if Deb, Edge, if you're raising your hands. I thought I saw you waving. No? Okay.
Okay. Well, any more questions, comments, thoughts? Because we are reaching our witching hour of 8. So.
Oh, I'd just like to thank both of you for enlightening us to what's going on here in the district. These are topics we've been talking about in this group, and it's very exciting to hear what's going on. Thank you for taking an hour out of your busy lives to come and talk to us. Thank you.
Here. Thank you.
Here.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I also thank Josh. I thank Tabaris, and keep up the good work. And we'll help the best we can.
Thank you for organizing this.
Yeah, and all of y'all come through, check it out.
Yes, indeed.
Great.
Thank you.
Everybody's welcome, always.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk about that, Tabaris. We'll organize something, okay?
And there's
Bye.
And there's one comment I just wanted to read from Susan. She had said food recovery matches restaurants to charities, and they need volunteers.
Foodrescue.org. And I do a run. They call it a run. And I pick up pizza Monday mornings from We the Pizza and take it over to the Central Union Mission near Union Station. It's a men's shelter. And there's a lot of pizza that goes, let me tell you.
Talk about the Food Rescue US.
Pardon? Oh, I think it's foodrescue.org. or maybe foodrescuedc.org. Are you familiar with it, Josh?
Yeah, Kate Urbank's program.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
That's Food Rescue US. It's kind of this weird name.
Okay.
But you might be right with foodrescue.org. But yeah, that's great. It's called a food runner program. It's an app where you sign up and they match you when people have extra food. They'll match it. And if you say, oh, I'm free, I could do this, they'll send you, exact details to the closest food pantry. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they need lots of volunteers. And it's an amazing program. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
I like that.
Well, the people who don't like the greens, maybe they'll go for pizza.
Yeah.
Hey,
exactly.
It's a lot of pizza.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm up for raw carrots, but all right. Well, okay. Thanks again, and till next time.
See you next time. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
And Joanna too for coordinating, and Susan for helping coordinate as well.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
And thank you. And yeah, we'll visit, definitely.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So how we put that?